Legendary college football coach Eddie Robinson was once quoted as saying, in fact, up until just recently, he held the record for the most wins in college football. He understood how to inspire those to heights of greatness, drawing everything out of them that they had. And he was once quoted as saying that leadership, like coaching, is fighting for the hearts and souls of men and getting them to believe in you. You see, by definition, you're only leading if someone's following. If no one's following, you're out on a walk by yourself. The question becomes, people are only going to follow those worthy of being followed. Have you put in that effort? We talk about the need for personal development. And our first mentor this morning is going to focus on that because that's how he got to where he is today. And his path truly was poverty to wealth, rags to riches. But you have to understand, it's not an overnight thing. Too many have talked sometimes in our profession about get rich quick, and it's not. It is a process. You see, you are where you are because that is the limit of your comfort zone, and that's the level of worth that you have accomplished. It really is a path. It's a process, and it's a long-term commitment to becoming the person who deserves that which you dream to have. But along the way, it doesn't mean that you can't go flat out. World-famous winning race car driver Mario Andretti once said, if you have everything under control, you're just not going fast enough. So it's the realization it's gonna take time. But there's nothing wrong with compressing time by going flat out so that you don't have everything under control. You are on the edge of disaster, but committing to the process so you're worthy of being followed. I'm not gonna introduce you to someone who is truly worthy of being followed. And I love being able to start off the morning because I've known of this individual for so many years. His image in this profession was so big, but I didn't have an opportunity to meet him until GoPro a year ago. And I've now had an opportunity to introduce him twice, at GoPro 2014, and as well as the A&MP earlier this year. One of the things that you'll find is the minute he opens his mouth, first of all, you'll know he's a true Texas boy. He was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And there is no hiding that. You will not mistake him for a Northeasterner, that's for sure. The second thing you'll understand is from the moment he opens his mouth, he is the epitome of servant leader. He truly leads by giving and giving all he can so that others can become all they can. See, he started, and it was a rags to riches story. He could tell you stories about, the only way when he went on a date when he was young, the only way they had air conditioning was 440, 4 windows down and 40 miles an hour downhill. Because, the radio in the car had died long ago. He had to, hook something up to make any noise other than him screaming to see if the car was going to stay on the road. But he gave and committed to others early on. He was a high school baseball coach in Texas for 16 years. And he'll tell you the circumstances that created for him that triggered his desire to do bigger and better things. But he had a passion for developing greatness in others. And he carried that into this profession. And it didn't happen overnight. He had to become more, but he did. You look at where he is today. Today, he's earned over $25 million in his career in this profession. He has a team currently today of over 270,000 people. He has a diverse business empire far beyond network marketing. He owns a real estate company. He owns a music publishing company, a recording company. He'll tell you that he's, by the way, Network Marketing Times or Networking Times, the magazine all of you received a free copy of, and through this event you get free subscription. It's a great publication that again raises the bar of our profession. He is on the faculty of Networking Times and Networking University because he wants to teach and give back to as many as he can, not just his team, but anybody and everybody everywhere he can touch. He will also tell you that his greatest accomplishment in life is that 31 years ago, they celebrated their anniversary just this past week, he was able to convince the love of his life, Jeannie, to marry him. They have 2 adult children. Sarah Beth is a rising country music star. His son Jordan's a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, but it looks like he's going to be headed to the Yankees. Individuals who are learning to strive because of the greatness and the commitment to excellence they saw in their parents, and then this gentleman is going to kick off the morning. But most powerful of all is to this day, as much as he's accomplished, successful as he's been, from his 270,000 team members to everybody around the world who is blessed with the chance to learn from him, he goes by one nickname to this day, Coach. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know your morning is about to get rocked and kicked off the right way. Get on your feet, bring to the stage in the GoPro way, the one, the only, Mr. Presley Swagerty! I'm athletic enough, I say.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Please sit down. You know, Curtis is so good. I was standing in the back wondering who he was talking about. The only thought that kept going through my mind was I wish my mama was here to hear how neat I am. Curtis was really doing that. Boy, can Eric and Marina throw a party or what, huh? Is this pretty neat? Well, listen, guys, I'm excited to kick off the morning. I'm excited to share a little with you. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about me. Then I'm going to tell you about the day that changed my life. Then I'm going to give you my 3 keys to success. And then I'll end up with just a short story, and we'll have a little fun. At least I'm going to have some fun. I hope you do. Fair enough? Well, you heard I'm a high school coach. I did that for 16 years in Garland, Texas, a suburb of Dallas. I grew up in Dallas, in southeast Dallas. I grew up, no dad in my life. My mom worked in a sewing factory. We lived in the ghettos. There were 2 murders and a rape within 7 houses of us. They confiscated 500 pounds of marijuana from across the street. I don't tell you all this stuff so you'll feel sorry for me. I just want you to understand that it doesn't matter where we begin. We can all change the ending, and that's what I've been doing my whole life, and it's something we can all do here, is that it really doesn't matter where you are right now. And I know in a room this size, we've got people starting at all different starting points, but I grew up that way, and then I wanted to be a coach, so I started coaching, and I loved it. I did it with a passion. I felt like I helped some of my kids. Never made much money in public education, and I finally came to the realization that the Mavericks, the Lakers, the Knicks, none of those NBA teams were going to call me. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do to change my life financially, because Jeannie and I were struggling. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine came to me and showed me network marketing. Didn't understand it all, but I just kept going, gee, that might work. I mean, that was my logic back then. That might work. So I decided to give it a shot. I got in with a goal to make $1,000 a month. I thought, boy, if I can make $1,000 a month, I can help pay some credit card bills down. I don't know about here, but in Texas, we have credit cards, and they just tend to keep going up, and it's almost like they charge you 400% interest. It's like you never can pay them down. So I thought, I'm going to get this thing going, and I'll take that entire $1,000 if I can get it up to that, and I'll start paying it towards those credit cards and see if we can work that down. Well, it took me 6 months, but finally went to the mailbox, got an envelope out, and this is before direct deposit. Opened that envelope up, there was a check, there was a comma. I have never been as excited to see a comma in my whole life as to have a residual check with my name on it and a comma involved. I was pumped up. I mean, it was just like we'd won the championship. I'm pumped up. But I used to go to church with a guy named Zig Ziglar, and Zig would always tell us, and by the way, the world lost a great man when Zig passed. But anyway, Zig would always tell us, he'd say, go as far as you can see, and when you get there, you're going to be able to see a little further. Well, when we got it to 1,000 a month, then I could see 3,000. We got it to 3,000 a month, I could see 5, and then 10, and then 20. And as Curtis pointed out, Jeannie and I have been blessed beyond measure financially and in a lot of other ways because of network marketing. But that's kind of my story, if you will, so you can kind of have a perspective of where I come from. I didn't come with a silver spoon in my mouth. It was more like a plastic spoon. But what that does for me, and I appreciate my upbringing because it makes me appreciate everything that I have now. Now, I'm going to tell you about the day that changed my life, and I usually do this when I speak because I want you to understand this could be the day that changes your life, because I'm a firm believer that if you really want to do something big, if you really want to change your life in a big way, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and you really want to do something different, that I think it takes a decision on your part. I don't think you can just get a bunch of goosebumps and then run out of here. And I think it just all kind of fades away when you do it that way. I think it's going to take a conscious decision on your part that you say, this is the day that's going to change my life. This is the day that I'm going to do what it takes for the first time in my life to make a huge change. Now, I was a head coach at a big 5A high school there in Texas, and this is a Wednesday. I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm standing in what's called the Commons area. It's a big open area in the middle. The gym is on one side, the auditorium's on the other, and Coach Swagerty's standing there watching the children, making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Well, the bell rings. Well, it's Wednesday. When the bell rings, it is time to go to lunch at Lakeview High School. Wednesday was a big day in my life, and if you're from the South, you'll appreciate this more. It was chicken fried steak day. So I couldn't wait to get to the cafeteria to eat my chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, gravy. They always had buttermilk pie for dessert. Man, it's a big day in my life. So I'm going to run down to the cafeteria. Trouble is, when I pull my wallet out, and you could eat in our cafeteria for $2. When I pull my wallet out, there wasn't $2 in there. You know, I even looked in the hiding spots. I couldn't figure out what I was going to do. I'm not going to miss chicken fried steak day. So I remember, oh my gosh, I got some change in the truck. So I run out to the parking lot. Now understand, this is not a high dollar truck. It's a 1986 Mazda B2000. It was all beat up. And for the young folks in the room, you won't even believe this. You actually had to stick the key in the door to unlock it. I mean, it didn't have a clicker, you know. So I stick the key in the door. I lay across the seat. I pull the ashtray out, and I'm counting some change out of a dirty ashtray to get me $2. I had pride. I wasn't going to mess with the pennies, so I get nickels, dimes, and quarters, and I've got $2. I shut the ashtray, I close the door, I lock it, and I'm standing in the parking lot of Lakeview Centennial High School looking at $2 worth of dirty change in my hand. Now understand, I had a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, I'm a head coach, we'd won a few district championships, but I'm standing scratching out change to get $2 to eat a $2 lunch. Now, I wish I could say that's the only time in my life I had ever dug change out of an ashtray, but it wasn't. But I'm looking at that change, and for whatever reason, on this one day, something hit me like a ton of bricks. I decided that I was tired of scratching change to eat a $2 lunch. For whatever reason, something hit me that I wanted to change my life. Now, I wasn't sitting at a big event hearing amazing speakers. I'm in a parking lot with the sun beating down on me looking at some change. But I made the decision right then and there that my life was going to change. Now, I didn't know how it was going to change because I hadn't found networking, but I just knew it was going to change. So, guys, that was the day that my life changed. And it sounds kind of crazy that it would happen in a parking lot, but I'm telling you, it can happen in a parking lot or it can happen in a ballroom like this. If you decide you really want to change your life, today can be the day that that happens. Now, let's see, what do we got here? Let's see, dream. I'm going to give you 3 words today, and I'm a simple-minded guy, but these words have been the key to my success in business and in life and in everything else. As we go through life, I think you'll figure out these 3 words will be what can change your life. Now, I'm going to obviously talk about each of them, but they're 3 simple words: dream, grow, and work. I think one of the greatest travesties going on in America today is that people have given up on their dreams. When we were in high school and we were in college and we were young, we were going to conquer the world, weren't we? I mean, we were going to conquer the world. We were going to do amazing things. We're going to live in the nicest houses, drive the favorite car that we wanted. All that stuff was going to happen in our lives, but we tend to start doing this. We mess around and we get married, we have a couple of kids, we take a job because we got to make some money, and then if we were truthful, and this applies to me, guys, I'm talking to me here, but if we were truthful, we would say that we got trapped into leading a life we never intended to live. I just think that works. Not with all of us, but I think with a lot of us, we got trapped into leading a life we never intended to live. We give up on our dreams because the world starts knocking our hopes and dreams out of us. We start running into negative people and negative things, and friends and family start telling us that those dreams are unrealistic, and all of a sudden we start deciding that we're not gonna accomplish that. We'll just kind of settle and just kind of finish on out. And guys, when we get that finish on out mentality, something's wrong. We got to understand we've got to get back in the dream business again. I'm going to challenge you, and I'm sure in a room this size with a bunch of leaders, a lot of us have written our dreams and goals down. But if you have not, I'm going to challenge you tonight before you lay your head on that pillow to write down your dreams of what you want your life to look like, because so many of us live life backwards. We just get out there and we just hope we end up in a good spot when it's all over. Ladies and gentlemen, hope isn't a very good strategy. We would never get in a car and head out on a trip and not have our destination, would we? We would never, ladies, you wouldn't be cooking a new dish and just open the pantry up and start throwing a bunch of stuff in a bowl and hope you end up with something, would we? No, we wouldn't, but we will live life and not have a clue where we want to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight before you go to bed, write down those dreams, and I tell you what, don't put a ceiling on it. Even a tall one like this, we don't want a ceiling on our dreams. We want to write everything down that we want to accomplish in our life, because our brain is very powerful, ladies and gentlemen, and if we'll write that down, our brain will start trying to figure out ways to help us accomplish that. And I'll tell you, here's the way I do it. Today on my mobile phone, on my memo pad, I have all my dreams for this year written down, because you need to read those dreams in the morning. You need to read those dreams before you go to bed at night, so that our mind can start working to help us figure out ways to accomplish that. And I don't have time to go into goal setting and all that, but we can just help a whole lot by writing them down and reading them. The other time you want to read your dreams and your goals is if you're having a bad day. Start reading those, because it'll pick you back up again. But write them down, read them morning and night, and then read them if you're having a bad day. We got to get back in the dream business again. Number 2, we got to grow. I have one cousin in my life that was successful. I have a huge extended family. My mom was one of 7. I have cousins out the wazoo. I mean, there's gazillions of cousins. Most of them didn't go to high school. Most of them just kind of get by. Good people. I'm not saying they're not good folks, but they weren't motivated. I had one cousin that was motivated, a guy named Manny Carter. Manny was about 10 years older than me. Manny became very successful. And I went to Manny one day and I said, Manny, I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of just living paycheck to paycheck. Can you give me some advice? And I was expecting him to tell me, a long list of things to do. And I just remember Manny looking at me and he said, Presley, here's one thing you need to understand. If you want more, you've got to become more. He said, you don't chase success, you attract success by the person you become. If you want more, you got to become more. That was, guys, a turning point in my life, because I was one of those guys that when I went to college, I was on the Get Me Out of Here program. I hate to admit that now, but I knew to be a coach I had to have that degree, but I didn't want to overtax the brain cells at that point in time in my life. So I was on the Just Get Me Out of Here program. Well, let me say this so you understand. I've had a total change of philosophy. I'm a lifelong learner now. I mean, I am struggling all the time trying to learn more. I'll read all the time. And I'm going to go over a few things that I think we need to do if we really want to grow as a person. One, we need to read. I taught math so I wouldn't have to read. And this is the grow part here. Every day I read something. Now get this. I think this will be something that is huge, or at least it was for me. Let me ask you something. If you read 10 pages today out of a good book, would it change your life? Could. Maybe not, could. But let me ask you this. What if we read 10 pages out of a good book tomorrow and the next day and the next day? And wouldn't we all agree that we could read 10 pages out of a good book if we really wanted to, if we thought it was important? Yes or yes? Yeah, we could. 10 pages. I mean, we could take 10 minutes when we get up, when we're chewing on our sandwich at lunch, before we go to bed at night, we could read 10 pages. I did teach math. If we do that every day for one calendar year, 10 times 365 is 3,650. Do you realize if you just read 10 pages a day, and we all just said we could, you would have read 15 to 20 good books in the next calendar year? I promise you, if you will do that, and we meet back here next year, and hopefully I'll be back here and we can do this, I want you to understand you will not be the same person. If we had this same group of people here, it wouldn't be the same crowd if everybody read them 15 to 20 good books, and we could do that by reading 10 pages. The other way we need to do this is we're driving in that rolling university. Instead of listening to the negative news, which is just about all that's put out these days, instead of listening to the negative news, let's put a book on CD or an audio program into that CD player, and let's listen to some good stuff. You realize the average American drives 30 minutes a day. In 5 years, that's 1,250 hours. Do you realize if we would listen to some positive stuff, that's the equivalent of a 4-year college education? Now let's think, we're talking about becoming more, and I don't think I've said anything that's real difficult. I just said let's read 10 pages a day, and as we're driving around, let's put a book on CD or an audio program into that CD player. Stuff we could all do easily. Let's do that. Number 3, before you go to bed at night, here's something we need to do. Instead of watching what I call a time-wasting electronic income reducer, which a lot of people call a television, but I call it a time-wasting electronic income reducer. Instead of sitting there watching that, understand that the most important time for our mind is that 30 minutes before we go to bed, because our mind does not go to sleep. Our mind is continuously working, and if instead of putting negative stuff, which the average American watches 6 hours of television, which is unbelievable to me. See, I've got a different theory on life. Instead of watching a bunch of millionaires, I wanted to become a millionaire, So I think instead of watching them live a life that's special, I wanted to live a life that was special. Let's kind of create our own reality show. How about that, Let's live like we want to. And if the story you're living in right now isn't what you want to be living in, then leave and let's get in another story, okay? But what we've got to do is, before you go to bed at night, get your iPad out or your computer, and instead of watching something negative, let's watch a little YouTube. And I'm not talking about a cat getting its tail cut off or something. Let's pull up the Zig Ziglars, the Stephen Coveys, the Jim Rohns, the Joyce Meyers. Let's pull up some folks like that, and let's start watching a few minutes of that before we go to bed, so that our mind is thinking about positive things instead of negative things. Our mind is starting to think how it can help us be successful, but we need to watch that. The other way we grow as a person is by coming to stuff like Eric is putting on right here. We attend some seminars because, number one, we get to learn from some of the masters of the industry, but we also get to network with other people, and we get to learn from everybody. And then the last one, and it's the one that I used to talk about as a coach a whole lot, is that, guys, we need to understand that who we run with is very important in our life. I used to pull my team together at the beginning of the year and talk to them about grades and how to dress and how to act and show respect. I'd talk to them about all the stuff you would think a coach would talk to his team about, but I'd also look at them and I'd say, guys, you show me who you run with, and I'm going to show you who you are or who you're going to be. It's a simple fact, ladies and gentlemen. Whoever we run with, that's who we are or who we're going to be. So I'm going to challenge us. Everybody in this room knows winners. Everybody in this room knows losers. I'm going to tell you, start spending more time with the winners and less time with the losers, because every person we run with rubs off on us. Every person we run with rubs off on us. And if you're running with winners, good things are rubbing off on you. And if you're running with losers, bad things are rubbing off on you, because make no mistake about it, every relationship in our life is either pulling us up or it's dragging us down. Every relationship. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We've got to run with the winners, and we're sitting in a room full of winners right now, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to write our dreams down. We're going to do that before we go to bed tonight. Now we're going to start growing as a person, because if we want more, we got to become more. We got to read. We're going to listen as we're driving around. We're going to watch some good stuff right before we go to bed so our mind can meditate on that at night. We're going to get to seminars when we can, and we're going to start running with winners. And then my last point is we got to work. We got to work. I think this is an indictment on our country, but we got over half our population sitting around holding their hand out wanting something for nothing. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand we need to get our rear out there and make things happen. Action is the thing that separates winners from losers. I think just about everybody has some good thoughts, but the winners in life get out and make it happen. We can do all kinds of stuff in our networking business. We can make lists, we can color code them, we can reorganize them, we can put them in a nice binder, But bottom line, if we're not calling somebody, setting some appointments, we're doing absolutely nothing. See, the great thing about our profession is that it doesn't take special ability. It just takes action. You know, if you'll get plugged in with your company, and if you'll start making those calls to set some appointments, whether it's in person or webinars or getting them to watch a video, doesn't really matter. But if you're making those appointments to get people to watch, good things are going to happen. But if you're not showing the plan, good things are not going to happen. I mean, you may be real organized and you may have the prettiest list in the world, but if we're not doing what it takes, and see, that's really where it boils down to this. This is so much like coaching, because so much of this boils down to what kind of heart do you have? Do you really want to change your life? Are you really willing to get out of your comfort zone and do what it takes, or are you just playing the game? We don't want to just get out there and just play a game with ourselves. We want to do what it takes because we can. Everyone in this room has greatness inside you. You need to understand that everyone in here has greatness inside you. We all can do great and mighty things, but it's going to boil down to us having to take some action, having to do some stuff that we don't want to do. And that's going to involve getting out of that comfort zone. Do you realize we all have a comfort zone? Our comfort zones, mine was a little bitty when I started. Boy, I'd get nauseated if I had to pick up the phone and make a call. But you know what happens? If you'll make a few calls, it gets easier. And then you make a few more calls and it gets easier. Guys, we can do this. Now, you're going to have to make those first few tough ones. But bottom line, the folks you're calling, are they going to take care of you when you're old? No. Are they going to make your mortgage payment for you? No. Are they going to help send your kids to college or your grandkids to college? No, probably not. Then, guys, we've got the best thing in the world. We've got a chance to change their financial picture too. We've got something good we're going to them with. I think sometimes we get this attitude, oh, I don't want to bother them. Bother them? Thank the Lord somebody bothered me, huh, Jordan? I mean, I thank the Lord somebody bothered me and showed me a presentation. And that's got to be your attitude when you're talking to people. We've got to get excited about sharing what we have, because get this, guys, I was ignorance on fire when I started. I didn't even know what I was talking about. But I'm telling you what, if you get fired up, people will come from miles around to watch you burn. I mean, it's all about you getting pumped up about what you've got going on. People want to be around excited people. So let's get excited. Now, let's go back over our 3 keys real quick. 1, we're going to write our dreams down tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that's huge. You get in the top 5% of Americans if you'll just write your dreams down. Number 2, we're going to start growing as a person, because if we want more, we need to understand we got to become more, that we attract success by the person we become. So we want to start growing by reading and watching and listening and hanging with winners and getting to seminars. Guys, we've got to do that. And then the 3rd one is you got to get off your rear end and get out there and do something. I mean, it's real simple. We've got to do something. We've got to make those tough calls. And understand, guys, always recruit up. You need to be thinking about, who can I call that's already successful? Now, we're going to talk to broke Uncle Harry. Sure, absolutely. But if we think broke Uncle Harry's going to be our best associate, we're probably wrong. We need to be going to people that have already had some level of success. Now, I'll end with this, guys. I got involved in networking because of my family. My wife was working as a paralegal, working 60 hours a week. We were like 2 ships passing in the night, having marital problems, all kinds of stuff. Now, guys, because of me being willing to get out of my comfort zone, Jeannie's a professional shopper now, huh? She got a great honor bestowed on her the other day. They inducted her into the MasterCard Hall of Fame, huh? Jeannie does that. Now, you heard Sarah Beth is a rising country star. You know, I think it's obviously because of her talent and her ability and her drive, but I think in some small part it's because she saw her parents doing something. She saw her parents chasing their dreams. See, make no mistake about it, every decision you and I make has ripple effects. Every decision. And because of that, she graduated from Baylor, then started chasing her dreams, and thank the Lord she did. And whatever small part we had, I'm just glad we could, but every decision does that. Jordan, our son, he went to Prestonwood and became a baseball player, then went to Arizona State where he was an All-American, and then got drafted by the Cardinals. He's chasing his dreams. And again, I think in some small part, it's because he saw his parents chasing their dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, every decision we make has ripple effects. So here's my question to us. What legacy are you leaving? We've got a profession that can change your life, and everyone in here has greatness in you, so we need to understand we can do it. It's got to be one of those things where we make ourselves get out there and we make it happen. I challenge you tonight, draw a line in the sand. Make this the day that you make your decision that you're changing your life. Draw a line in the sand and let's stand in the gap for our family and show our family that somebody with our last name can do something special. I promise you, your kids are looking at you. I promise you, your grandkids are looking at you. But I also promise you that you got nieces, nephews, cousins, and friends watching you. Let's do something special. I believe there will be two groups. Those that are glad they did and those that wish they had. Thank you.
Presley Swagerty! Brother, as always, you are a stud.